Are you seeking a better way to accelerate your sales, to scale your business, to live a life with no limits? Accelerate Sales Podcast features global experts who have cracked the code to recurring revenues with proven sales systems and get you on the fast track to scaling. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Hi, I'm Paul Higgins and welcome to the Accelerate Sales Podcast, episode number 446. You're going to learn a lot today, but three things in particular. One is why actually using LinkedIn automation may be safer than you or your team doing it manual. Yes, that's right. The second is benchmarks for acceptance and reply rates. So not just what they are, but most importantly, how to improve them. And the third one is, did you know that LinkedIn, you could be getting 4 to 5 better acceptance and reply rates than what you do from email? So once again, how to do that. If you're a first-time listener and you love what you hear, please subscribe. Who's it for? It's for cloud consultants. So hopefully you're one of them. And it's for consultants that then go and deploy a major SaaS platform, and could be any of those. And also, if you're a regular, why don't you let me know that? Okay, because it's a bit lonely here. You don't know often who's listening, so just email me at paul@paulhigginsmentoring.com. That would be great. You'll get a summary in the app that you're listening to. The full transcript will be available at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast. And before we go into the interview with Guillaume, I'd like to thank our sponsors. The first is the Cloud Consultants Collective. It's a free community where we collaborate and help each other to run our businesses better. You can go to cloudconsultantscollective.com, and the other is SendSpark. So it's great that Guillaume will show us today how to get acceptance and reply rates up. But, if you want to actually add you, who's the most valuable asset in the business, you can do this through a platform called SendSpark. And you can get 6 months free by going to paulhigginsmentoring.com/SendSpark. So our guest today is Guillaume, as I've mentioned. He's the co-founder and COO of Wellexy. It's a LinkedIn sales automation platform, and it really focuses on ease and customer support, which you'll hear today. But it's a great platform, and they've gone from 0 to 6 million in annual revenue within the last 3 years, and they're bootstrapped and they're continuing to grow. And I really love their approach, and you're going to hear a lot of that. So what I'll now do is hand you over to Guillaume from Wellexy.co. So great to have you, Guillaume. It's we've spoken a bit. I love what you're going to talk about today, as I said in the introduction. But why don't we just kick off with who you love to work with? Who are your ideal clients?
Hey Paul, thanks for having me. So we have a really wide range of clients, because Wellexy basically allows people to contact other people, and so you might need to contact people for many reasons. And so we do have salespeople, we have business people, consultants, lawyer, accountants, even students. We have quite a wide range of clients.
Right. And I'm assuming they're all B2B?
No, again, so it's a bit particular, but so we consider ourselves as a B2B company, yes. But sort of we call ourselves prosumer, because those people are basically B2Bs, but they sort of consume like B2C people, because usually they buy a license for their LinkedIn profile. So in a way, it's of them. Yes. And even though it's for B2B, we also have people using it for their own purpose. For example, if they want to find a job. So it's mainly B2B, but with a touch of B2C as well, I would say.
Okay, great. Well, look, I always say to my cloud consultants that there's really 4 ways of getting quality leads these days. There's your referrals, which normally come from your network. There's your referrals from your SaaS partner. So if you're a Salesforce, Microsoft, HubSpot, Zoho, whatever, some platforms send more than others. Then there's LinkedIn outbound, outbound, but predominantly, sourced through LinkedIn. And then the last one is strategic partners, which you normally find on LinkedIn, right? So the common theme for them is is LinkedIn, and I think that's where you can really step change, right? Because if you've got the first two, normally that's where you get started, right? And you get most of your revenue from there. And then where you really leap change is doing the LinkedIn. And that's why I wanted to get you on, because I know Wellexy is a great platform to help with that LinkedIn piece. Now, I know you're a product-led company, but you see lots and lots of your users doing things on LinkedIn. I'd love to just kick off with, what are you seeing at the moment? What's working and not working on, getting people to connect and reply on LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's easy to answer. So there's basically two ways you can improve your performance on LinkedIn. So either your acceptance rate or your replies rate.
Yeah.
The first is your ability to craft a proper message, a message that will resonate with your audience, with your ideal target. And the other one, and I think the one that is the most important, is your ability to find the proper prospects, to identify and find the person that will be interested in your product or your service. And I think this aspect is even more important than having a perfect message, a perfect copy, because if you have a perfect copy, but you send this copy to a person that has nothing to do with your product or service, you'll have zero results. But if you have a poor copy, but your target is really the ideal target, and that the person is really your typical user, your typical prospect, typical clients, then you'll have some results. So I think these are the two components.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And look, I work with a lot of people on LinkedIn strategy, and the first thing we do is really identify who is that ideal client and make sure that their profile is only speaking to them. I spent a lot of time at Coca-Cola, 18 years, and for us, we had two things. We had who our bullseye market was, so who do we actually run our commercials to? Anything that was marketing driven, who did we have? And then there's other people that still consumed our product, right? And I think it's the same here. And you probably experienced this. Some people think, well, but I've got clients already that aren't that ideal client. What happens to that income? Am I going to lose income? So there's a bit of a fear of, well, if I go too specific, then I'm going to lose other revenue. Have you seen that in some of your clients? And if you have, how have you seen that play out?
Not really, because so we're based on LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is basically an open database for P2B leads, and a pretty big one, because you have almost 500 million users on the platform. Yes. That will add and update their personal information. So where they live, in what industry they work, for how many years, etc. So all those information will allow you to identify and target them. And the way we see it is, unless you're selling rockets, unless you're selling a really specific product, a very niche product, you most likely have an infinite number of prospects to contact on LinkedIn. So you don't really lose revenue by trying other prospects or other targets.
Yeah, okay. And look, I think it's, I suppose, in a way, you selling services, you might need 20 clients a year, right? So if you're listening to Guillaume and you're thinking, I'm not selling rockets, but I'm selling something very specific, right, to a very specific audience. So I think that's where, for me, I'd recommend the tighter you are, and if you choose a vertical solution and your profile is a vertical solution, I think that's going to definitely help with that targeting and that replies. So what are some of the other things, if you just quickly go back to acceptances, right? Some people talk about, well, you don't need to send any message at all. Yes, because profile's so tight, you send it, it's going to be fine. Other people say no, there's a formula to sending it. And some people say there's no formula, just be natural, right? There's sort of three buckets that I've heard. Which bucket do you see working better with your clients?
Yeah. The truth is, if your goal is really to absolutely optimize your acceptance rates, regardless of any further objective, you might be better off by switching your profile to a female one if you're a male. And, so we've seen from our statistics, we've seen that female tend to have higher acceptance rates than male. And obviously, if you're a founder, C-level, you also have higher acceptance rates. The question is, why do you want to optimize your acceptance rates? Do you simply want to grow your network, but in a way that makes sense? If you just send hundreds of invites per day, everywhere, basically with no real interest in who you're targeting, it's to me it's pointless. Yes. So it really depends on what you want to do after the invites. Usually you want to send them a message to offer your service or just to have a chat maybe, but you want to send them a message afterwards. And so what we've seen is from the statistical study is that invites without notes perform better. It's not like 10 times better, it's like 10% better. So 10% is not like 30% versus 40%. It's more like 30% versus 33%. So this is the kind of difference you see with huge numbers of invites sent. And again, as these come from a huge number of invites sent, you might also have better results using a notes because each case is different. But on aggregate, it's better to send a note without an invite without a note. Sorry, if you want to optimize the acceptance rate.
Right, and what is a good acceptance rate? I know it's a bit like a piece of string, right? But is it, is there an industry standard, say, 40% it's a good acceptance rate? Like have you got any benchmarking that you use?
Yeah, so we don't have a specific benchmark per industry, though it would be interesting to have this data. We consider a good acceptance rate when you're above 30%. So anything between 30% to 35% is good. Above 35 to 40% is great. Yes. And then above 50% is excellent.
Yeah, great. And what about replies? We'll talk more detail about replies, but what's the rates you sort of see on replies?
Yeah, so replies can vary a lot. And again, it depends obviously on what you want to achieve. We've recently conducted a small game at Galaxy with all the employees where we were in team, and the only goal was to maximize the reply rate. And so personally, I managed to have a 90% reply rate, but without context, but because I was targeting people that were looking for a job and I was offering them some jobs with a fake profile. So, it's easy to have excellent reply rates in that situation. If you're selling something, obviously it's harder, but again, it depends on who you're targeting and if you offering demos or if you're selling a product, but you're only redirecting people to a website, for example. But what I can say is you'll have 4 to 5 times more replies on LinkedIn than on email. At least that's what we've seen so far. Because usually those two ways of contacting people are compared. And yeah, you might expect a 10 to 20% reply rate on a standard classical outreach campaign. So that counts all the people that have accepted you. So if you send 100 invites, you have a 50% accepting your invite. You'll have between 5 and 10 people that will reply.
Yeah, great. And look, they're the sort of the numbers like, typically we're sort of like 40 and 25. They're sort of the numbers that we're getting at the moment, being very targeted, like you said, on really understanding who our ideal client is. And I think that certainly helps to get your numbers up. And, we believe that, yes, you can send 100 a day, but what we look at doing is, the quality, really doing the research and making sure that this person is a really good fit for you. So therefore your numbers are higher rather than just sending 100 randomly a day. Now, if you look at your platform and for those that are, out walking, etc., it's called Walaxy. So I'll just spell that. It's WAALAXY.co, right? So that's and we'll have all the links to it in the show notes. But so why would I move from manually doing it to using a tool like yours, which is a way of automating some of the basic, the actions that I'm doing manually or getting one of my teams to do manually?
Yeah, so the first obvious answer is saving your time. Because even though everything Walaxy does, you could theoretically do it manually, it would take you basically your entire day to do this. And it won't really be reliable because LinkedIn is not meant to send automated messages and automated follow-ups, I would say, because sending automated messages to people is not that complicated. You can copy paste some messages, but having a system where you automatically send a message 2 days after a person has accepted your invite, and then if the person does not answer after 2 days, you then send a follow-up. This you could theoretically automate it, do it manually. Sorry, but it's virtually, it's almost impossible to do. So I would say first save your time and give you access to some statistics as well, the ability to track your results, way more efficiently.
Yeah, brilliant. And I know that the elephant in the room is that my account could get banned or could get suspended, and there's so many stories out there. What are you guys seeing, right? Obviously, if that was the case, you wouldn't be in business, right? So
yeah,
it's not as bad as everyone says. So tell us a little bit about that.
Exactly. To be fully transparent, we do have some users and some clients that sometimes get banned, but as you can imagine, it's only a tiny fraction of those. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there and growing so fast. And so what we've seen is, if you don't want to risk your accounts on LinkedIn, don't do anything. And when I say don't do anything, it's don't do anything with automated tool, but don't do anything manually either. Because what we've seen is people getting banned from LinkedIn only performing, visiting profiles directly on the platform or sending messages directly on the platform. And what we do at Walaxy is only replicating a human behavior. We obviously have actions quotas in place to make sure you don't exceed a certain volume of requests per day. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, you can see your account banned doing manual things on LinkedIn. And it can happen.
And in a way, it's nearly the reverse, which is what you said. I really like that you guys keep on top of the algorithm, right? No one's ever going to know it perfectly, but you generally know what the limits are, and you're doing that research a lot more than me as a user just doing it manually, right? So I think sometimes it's safer to use an automation platform, which people go, hang on, that's not right. I'm like, it is, because you guys know the limits, right? And you're doing it within the right time frames, etc. And if you get a virtual assistant, and it doesn't matter where they are in the world, right, and they're not properly trained, and all of a sudden they do something, it's illegal to have a virtual assistant on the platform. It's outside the terms and conditions anyway, but that's another whole thing. But they probably got a higher risk than what some of the automation platforms are. So, I think if you're sitting here listening to Guillaume and myself and thinking, oh, I've heard so many bad stories. Well, A, they're not as big and the platforms like this wouldn't exist. And B, you could have a risk more with a human that doesn't, it's not smart enough to know what the algorithms are, and why your platform versus others, right? There's a lot of them out there. They're all good in their own way. What's unique about your platform? Why would someone choose Wellexy over another one if they hear that, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can actually automate with a very low risk. Why would I use yours?
We focused on customer experience and how easy it is to use the tool. And because we figured, so yeah, as you mentioned, there are loads of other tools on the market, and we don't really compete on features because every tool now basically does and have the same feature.
Yeah.
But we do focus on, how is it to use the tool and launch your first campaign. And as we are a fully product-led growth bootstrap company, we don't have any salespeople to provide demos. Everything go through the chat support. You must have a product that is super easy to use. Otherwise, you just lose your prospects. Because when we launched the product, we felt that there were a gap in there were a lot of products, but lots of people were being underserved. Salespeople are usually tech savvy; they know how to use automation tools. Business people, yeah, as well, SDR, but there were a fraction of and quite a big fraction of the people that were not served because it was all the other tools were complicated to use. And so our unique selling proposition is really around the simplicity.
Yeah, I really like that. And it is the 80-20 rule, right? Like, because I've got someone that's dedicated, does all of mine. JC, big shout out to you. You do a wonderful job. But, I want to make life easy for JC, right? And we test all the tools. So we want to make sure that when our clients ask, we have at least used it and recommend it, right? And know what's good and what's bad about it, right? But some of them are just, overkill. And some of them are built for agencies. They're not built for end users, right? So just be careful on some of those that, it's just completely overscoped. And that's what I like about yours. And the other thing, which, you're a product-led company, like you said, your product's got to be good, but also your support. When I went to G2 G2 Crowd, which is a great way to assess different platforms. You clearly won in the customer service versus some of the others. What are you doing specifically in customer service that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, so as we have no sales, we had to offer an excellent and above market customer experience, and customer service being one aspect of the whole customer journey and customer experience. So we have a chat support on which you can contact us, not 24/7 because we're French based, and for now, so we only serve from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Paris time.
Yeah.
And that's something we want to work on, by the way, by extending the hours. And you basically can expect the replies in less than 5 minutes if you contact us during that period. And at Wellexy, the customer support is really trained to know the product perfectly, but also the best practices of sales prospecting. So if you want to reach out to have tips and advice on how to launch your campaign, but not only technically, but also, who might be my ideal client, and giving and asking for advice about their copy, for example, we are able to provide them with some advice on that. And then we use a tool called Intercom. So our chart support is hosted by Intercom, and on Intercom you have those saved replies, which allow you to be super efficient in the way you answer your customers, because usually it's kind of the same question coming again and again, and with that feature you can really easily access the templates, and you have a complete answer that is sent in like 1 second and a half. And it allows us to serve lots of people really efficiently, rapidly, without the need to have like 20 people on the customer support. So it's really efficient.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, right? And I think, that's why I wanted to get you on here, because two key reasons. One is that, like you said, you do the things that are essential really well. So it's not difficult. It's an easy platform to use, and it's just automating what you do human wise. So, you can take your VA to go and do other things rather than doing this stuff manually, which is really smart. And then the other one is that customer service and actually being able to ask around campaigns. I don't know anyone else that does that. So they're two key standouts. And just to remind you, you talk, or you're listening, I should say, to Guillaume, and it's from Walaxy, which is WALAXY.co. So that we'll have all the links in the show notes. So as far as people, we've talked about acceptances and replies and sending connection requests. What if you had to pick three other things, activities that you should be doing on LinkedIn? What are they? It might be around birthdays or events or something. Like, tell us what are some other things that we should be doing rather than just sending out connection requests and replies.
Yeah, definitely commenting on people posts, not random posts, but posts that are relevant to you, relevant to your industry, and to what you are, basically. We usually underestimate the impact of top comments on really popular posts.
Yeah.
So obviously another great way to do this is to post yourself, to post things about your area of expertise, and to try to build an audience.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes easier in terms of how your profile will be viewed. It's sometimes easier to post comments on top posts rather than trying to have a viral post, for example. So yeah, I think in terms of how you can use LinkedIn, posting regular comments and also posting about your expertise is really interesting.
Yeah, great. And is there anything else, like from an automation point of view, that your tool does that a lot of people don't do before they come across Walaxy?
No, not really. I mean, we don't compete on feature. I think if what you want to do is like a super complicated automation with like tons of variables, Walaxy is not really the tool for you.
Yeah.
So we obviously have the first name, last name, and company name variables, but we're not really convinced that your results will get better by adding more variables. And you mentioned the birthday thing. People are not fooled anymore, and when you automatically send them a birthday, wishing their birthday, it's not natural. They know it's automated, especially if you're not really close. So we didn't really bet on this.
Yeah, great. And it sounds like you're using a lot of the user data to know what's working and what's not working as well, right? It's great. It's you're optimizing for your own tool, which makes sense. Whereas, if you're sitting there just as manually doing it, you don't have that comparison. It's really smart. Well, look, once again, the product's Walaxy. It's perfect if you want to get want to get better results and spend less time on LinkedIn, that's the key thing. And it's WALAXY.co. And once again, we'll have the links in here. So we'll just go now into the deep dive, the opposite, shallow, quick, fast question. And we're going to be even faster today because I know that you're a product-led company, so you're not doing a lot of sales. So we'll just focus on 2 questions. So the first one is, what's a wish that us as listeners could grant you to help you scale your company faster? What do you need? What do you want right now?
You need focus. And initially, when we started the company, we quickly released our first version, which is great, and which is what you want to do. You want to build a product and show it to potential prospects and clients as soon as possible to get feedbacks. From there, after a few months, we totally unfocused ourselves because we had lots of ideas. So we've built 2 other products at the same time. So you should really strive for focus.
Yep. Okay, great. And the last one is, from running the company, what do you know now that you wish you had have known a little earlier than you know?
So there are obviously many things, but right now I think of iterating your pricing and how easy it is to do, and the impact it can have. When you're a young entrepreneur, you think iterating on your pricing is super hard. You can't double your pricing, you can't halve it. The truth is you can, and you can iterate your pricing. You can iterate around what the top tier plan offers, what the lowest plan offer. And we've iterated a lot in the last few months, and we've seen great results, even though we were afraid to do this before we tried.
Yeah, and I think that's a message for you listening on your own products, right? You don't need to have a great LinkedIn automation tool to do the same thing that most of us undervalue. And I think it's a great opportunity to do those iterations yourself. So, look, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on the podcast. And I know that you've got a great offer for you listening now. So you can go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/Walaxy, and that will be in the show notes, and you'll be able to get 2 months free to see the benefits of effectively getting better results, but with less time. So that's great. And also you can check out Guillaume on his profile, and it's just in case the spelling is GUILLAUME. It's a fantastic French name, and lucky that I played golf with Guillaume, so I sort of got used to saying it. When I first looked at it, I thought, "Oh my God, how do I pronounce this?" But beautiful name, and thanks you guys for really saving people time and making it simple. And as I said, out of those 4 pillars, you've got to be doing outreach these days to take advantage of those, how many millions of people that are on LinkedIn that you can't find anywhere else. So Guillaume, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, Paul. It was a pleasure.
That was a great interview, wasn't it, with Guillaume? And I really liked a lot of what he said, but a couple of things in particular. The no custom message. So we're going to test that. I think you should be testing it as well. And the other is around, those top posts in your industry and be first to comment and add value so you'll be seen by others. I think that's a great idea as well. And I don't think you can pin a comment in someone else's post, but let's test that as well. So why don't you share what you learned from this interview with Guillaume, right? His LinkedIn details are going to be in the show notes, and he'd love that. Also, you'll get the full transcription as well by going to paulhigginsmentoring.com. And why not share it with your peers? Because that they're probably struggling with LinkedIn outreach. This is a great tool, automation tool, and something that they would love and think you're a rock star for sharing it with them. So please do that. Check out our solo shows. And also, if you're trying to scale your cloud consulting business and thinking, have I got all the pieces of the jigsaw in the right order, go and check out my blueprint, which is a great ebook where I go through what I think is really needed to grow a business. Go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/blueprint. And as always, the last thing is please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.